Hello, everybody. Happy Christmas, happy holidays, wherever you are. If you celebrate it, if you don't celebrate it, who cares? It's a great time to be around football, considering the congested schedules. As you can tell, I'm very much in my festive spirit at the moment, much to the enjoyment of my panel mates. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Mr. Brooks mentioned in Happy Christmas, the panel and chat, hoping for a good result tomorrow. You'll never walk alone. Yes, indeed, we are hoping for a very good result tomorrow. Just want to do a little bit of housekeeping before we get into things. Make sure you do like and subscribe. Let's hit our 10K mark. We are we are very, 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 very close at the moment. So hopefully this will push us over the edge, hopefully before we hit the next transfer window. And also make sure you have your notifications on for all future streams and videos. I do apologize for the state of the hat I'm currently wearing. It's the only thing I could find on short notice. And my head is very large and this hat is very small. But we move nonetheless. We have a match tomorrow. This is our match preview for a game that could possibly send us to the top of the Premier League for Christmas, which would be a fantastic present for all of us to have. Hassan, I'll come to you first, more or less, on the game itself tomorrow. Are you a little bit worried? Are you excited for the game? Are you just concerned overall, or how are you feeling for it?
I'm excited, but it's a difficult game. But as Klopp said, that we will need Enfield to roar us on. We need the crowd to back us, and we should pressurize the keeper as the whistle goes as soon as because in the last match against United, we should have attacked and pressurized Onana more. But at this time, Rea looks like he's underconfident, so we should go and make. And we should stick Nunez at left wing like last time, and Curtis should start.
I think so too. Realistically, it's an interesting one because it's how well we performed on Wednesday would lead you to believe that would probably be the most strong side to go with. Dan, before I get to you, we do have to acknowledge our main contributor, realistically, who is funding our January transfer window. Jen, unbelievable support again. Thank you so much. £19.99. It's absolutely amazing that you're able to do this all the time, and we really do appreciate you. You're one of the most loved people here, and thank you so much. A little Christmas present from you to us. Merry Kevmas, as you have so eloquently said. I very much like that. Thank you so much, Jen. You're an absolute superstar, as always. Hopefully this money now goes to a nice fat transfer in January that we can all look forward to and react to. Dan, same question the way through to Hassan as well. How are you feeling about tomorrow? Nervous? Excited? Would you have been more nervous if we didn't absolutely annihilate West Ham midweek and it was a bit of a slog of a game as well? Or do you think maybe we've unlocked the potential of this side given the tactical changes that took place in midweek?
I'm excited. I was excited even before the West Ham game. I think what the West Ham game really gave us was a lot of clarity. I think there's a lot of things we've been discussing or speculated about with this team, the balance of it. And I think Curtis Jones and Szoboszlai, yes, we need to get Kev up there. Also, I need to let Jen know that all the money that goes into that transfer committee, John's already promised me that he's gonna buy me a nice sock, just one red sock from the Christmas kitty. So I just want to let Jen know that all that money, it's not going to go to a new player. And I just had to let her know, like we're a very ethical committee on this panel. For me, I think you can start any of the front line, and I think we will give Arsenal problems if you want to start Diaz on the left or Gakpo in the middle. I do think if you want to start Nunez, it's better to have him off the left because Arsenal really don't have a right back right now. But Curtis Jones has to start, in my opinion. He gives so much balance to that midfield, especially if you're going to play him and Szoboszlai. If Gravenberch can play, I think Gravenberch comes in for either Endo or Dominic Szoboszlai, and you just rejig the midfield. But, I expect it to be a very similar team to West Ham. But it's really exciting. I've been really critical of Arsenal. They've been a little bit – they managed to get some results that I didn't think they would get this year. And I think they're a very well-coached team. But I look at Arsenal, I see that they're still about maybe 2 or 3 transfer windows from being like the next big team that can consistently challenge like City has been, or like we have been in the past. But I think it would be a good game. I don't think we can take anything away from it. Either even if we win, I don't think we should go like title's 100% ours. If we draw, it's the title race isn't over. I would be more worried if we lost, mostly because I feel like Arsenal would just get too much of a big ego. And then when when they inevitably lose again, it's probably going to end up being Villa, and then I'll be really upset because it's like, dang, we really lost to Aston Villa for the title. I'm more worried about that happening than us drawing and losing out to City at the end. But it's exciting, it'll be exciting to see. But at the end of the day, we're probably just going to win like 4-0, and it's going to be like a classic Anfield game. Do you remember the 13-14 game where I think Arsenal were top? We were 4th or 5th at the time, and we put 4 past them in like the first 20 minutes. And I remember there were talks about the atmosphere being bad at Anfield before then because we hadn't been that good that year. So for me, it just very much seems like we can go there and probably blow them away in like 4 or 5 minutes. Darwin Nunez is going to break the post because he's going to hit it like 6 times in the first 20 minutes.
Look, he can hit it 6 times as long as 3 of them go in. I don't care.
I didn't say any of them will go in. I can't promise that, Stephen. You can't promise that. That's a Christmas miracle. We can't promise Christmas miracles.
Off the left, he seems so much more threatening, and it's actually something that I wanted to bring up because of I'm trying to see if I have his statistics here. I don't, unfortunately. That's the one I don't have. I had his heat map there somewhere for his left for when he came off the left during Benfica, and it was all over the place. It was nuts. Jamie says here that Ornstein seems to think it'll be quiet. Jimmy, I'm assuming that you mean in relation to the atmosphere rather than it being a quiet game, because I don't think this is going to be a quiet game. Would you take a draw tomorrow? To be honest, I would. A draw at Anfield is fine against the team that's literally a point ahead of you. I don't necessarily mind that myself. I'm not sure if Hassan or Dan would have different. I'm always going into a game expecting us to win, because why would you expect anything less of your team? It's what we come to expect, but you need to look at everything with context, in my own opinion. Oh, you meant January window. Ornstein thinking the window is going to be quiet. There's a lot of rumors going around. As Ornstein said, we do a lot of our work behind closed doors. Everybody thought it was going to be a very quiet summer too, and all of a sudden we signed 4 players, and 3 of which have the potential to be world class. And Endo seems to be settling in very, very well right now. So realistically, I don't understand anybody rating our summer window as bad. Dan is just a moving head at the moment as he changes position in the house. Just a floating head sitting there. Daniel, I decided we'll get a little bit Christmassy. Why not? It's really it's that time of year. That's the way you need to look at it. Hopefully we get a nice big fat Christmas gift tomorrow with a win against Arsenal. To be honest, Dan, as I mentioned to you, you said 4-0. Hassan, I take a 1-0 win. I take a 2-1 win. I take a 10-0 win. I'll take a win any way they come. 3 points is 3 points. I'm putting us 2 points ahead of Arsenal going into the Christmas period, where we have Burnley next on Boxing Day. And then after that, I believe, who do we have after that? Bear with me one moment. I'll just find it here. Who do we have after that? Fixtures. We have Burnley, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Chelsea, Arsenal again. That's in the Premier League alone. That's our next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fixtures. Arsenal home, Burnley away, Newcastle home, Bournemouth away, Chelsea home, Arsenal away. That's a lot of the top 6 out of the way very early on, and a lot of the remaining teams left. I think the only team then that we play after that, which would be difficult, will be City in March, and then United at the start of April. Outside of that, I don't see us facing anybody of much force. We've already played Villa, and our away game to Villa is at the end of the season. That one may worry me a little bit as we get closer to it, but at the moment it doesn't necessarily. We're getting a lot of heavy fixtures out of the way before we even hit Valentine's Day. We have Arsenal, Newcastle, and Arsenal out of the way before we even hit the 10th of February. And then after that, it's just City and United. We've gotten a lot of our big fixtures out of the way early. But it's a nice thing to have. Hassan, tomorrow, Draw, win, loss. Obviously not a loss, but 3 points, 3 points. Are you happy to take a draw, or would you like to see us go for a win? Hassan, can you hear me? Oh, are you there, Hassan? I can't hear you. Dan, can you hear him? I can't hear him.
No, I don't think he's coming in. I think Hassan, can you? I think it might be a microphone. Yeah, I was gonna say Arteta. It's a disgrace. It's an absolute
sabotage.
disgrace.
It's sabotage.
Absolute sabotage. We have to get this sorted. Someone go find Arteta. I think he might fix the game.
Hold on, we'll fix. There we go. That's okay. Look, if he comes back in, he comes back in. If not, sure. Look, it's the Stephen and Dan show for now.
That'd be
a horrible show to watch. That'd be a horrible show to watch.
Oh, I'm so mad about that. Why would you say?
I
that,
meant for me, like the two of us don't. Neither of us never know how to shut up as well at the same time.
Exactly. It's like those two Geordie fellows that have that TV show in England. What is it called? The what's it called? I forget now. I wish I knew up to date on my culture. Oh, that's back.
Okay, start talking to Sam. We'll see if we can hear you. No, nothing coming through, mate. I don't know what the problem is. Okay, do you know what you can do? To answer the question, we'll keep you involved a little bit. If you think it's going to be a win, put a thumbs up. If you think it's going to be a draw, go like this. If you think it's going to be a loss, go like this. So thumbs up for a win, this for a draw, this for a loss. We'll get you. Okay, we have a win. By how many goals? Put up fingers for how many goals. We'll get you involved somehow, mate. 2-0. 2-0. I like it. That's a respectable score. I don't see an issue with that myself. I think it's going to be a good game tomorrow. I don't know about everybody else. Hassan, I don't know if it's the headphones maybe that you have in that the mic just isn't working. Maybe take the headphones out and see if it works that way. You're freezing a little bit as well. It might be internet connection too. I don't know if you can hear us. Yeah, there's still nothing coming through from your side. Serge here mentions 4-2 to Liverpool. I wouldn't see anything bad with that. Dan has mentioned that he wants to see us beating Arsenal 3-0. I'd be very happy with that result. Oh, he's gone again. The joys of this. Who doesn't love some tweaking midstream? Isn't this great? This
is a live show. Live show 24/7.
Yeah, we're going to do it live. Guys, thank you so much for bearing with us through some technical difficulties. As Daniel mentioned, Arteta's taken them, unfortunately. But it's an interactive show without a mic. Look, we'll get everybody involved. Don't worry about it. But Dan, I'm going to get into a couple of bits here that I want to get into. First thing that we'll have a look at is possibly some predicted 11s, and I want to bring up some stats in relation to this. So I'm going to get rid of the brand, and we're going to show this. This is going to be something new that we're going to be trying, guys. So bear with us while we work out the technicalities on this. So hold on 2 moments, and here we go. So this now loads up for ourselves. So as we can see, we have a good few stats here from everybody, which is absolutely fantastic about who we'd have in the starting 11. First one that I want to have a look at is Dominic Szoboszlai, who's had a little bit of drama lately, purely because everybody sort of felt like he's slowed down a little bit in that he's maybe gotten a small bit tired, maybe gotten a little bit of his legs taken away from him. He's been played in a Henderson role is usually the stick that's been used to beat him with. Dan, looking at these stats, it seems like he's had his best game so far for us with that absolute screamer of a goal following the little Kwanzaa assist. Do you think he deserves to start again? Obviously, I think he deserves to start again, but do you see him playing massive minutes against Arsenal, and do you think he could be a difference maker?
Well, I mean, the obvious answer is yes and yes. I mean, how many minutes did he get against West Ham? Did he get 75? I don't know if they gave him the whole game or not. I
think he got about 65 to 75 minutes.
Yeah, so I imagine he starts, and I imagine it's going to be the same midfield three of Jones, Endo, and Szoboszlai. I mean, honestly, the reason why he looked so much better was because Jones was sitting next to Endo. You know, if we watched the past couple of games when we've had Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, and either Endo or McAllister playing, you know, it's usually Szoboszlai is the one who sits, and Gravenberch is usually playing as like a free number 10. So it's one of the situations where Dom has had to do a lot more of the screening and building up. He hasn't been able to get more central or get in more of the inside channels. He's had to essentially occupy a similar space that Salah and Trent want to occupy. But in that game against West Ham, he was able to be more central, a little bit more free. He had less responsibility. And so he was able to utilize his strengths, which are pressing, his intensity, and his ball striking, which is very well. I think he starts. I think it's the same midfield three. I'm excited to see him start because it's going to be interesting to see how Arsenal deal with how the likes of Zinchenko, Declan Rice, who wants to play more further forward, Gabriel, and who else would probably play? Ben Rice probably play, and Saliba deal with Szoboszlai because Arsenal really haven't played a team that have played with that kind of player. City don't have De Bruyne. I think the closest team that had someone like that is like West Ham with probably Paqueta or, James Ward-Prowse. So it's interesting to see what he does and how he presses that Arsenal backline. Because if I was looking through Arsenal stats, they haven't conceded a lot of goals this year, and they've actually been played very well defensively. But that's really hilarious because I don't rate their goalkeepers. I don't rate Ramsdale, and I don't rate David Raya. The fact that people think David Raya is like some reincarnation of like Alisson Becker, and I look at him and I see nothing but Loris Karius. And I love Loris Karius. I thought Karius was a decent goalkeeper for us until obviously Kiev. But it's going to be interesting because I want to see us just absolutely just hound this Arsenal team to the doldrums and back because it's going to be a good game is all I'm saying. And I think so if Szoboszlai plays well, I think we win. Because if he's playing well, then you don't have to rely on Salah, Trent, or even Tsimikas to create because he creates so much in that central area.
Yeah, it is an interesting one, realistically. Hassan, do you want to have a quick word there, see if we can hear you? I think I heard some...
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes! Back. The boys are back. Beautiful. Hassan,
yes.
Thoughts on Szoboszlai's stats as you can see them there. Now, Dan mentioned as well we have Curtis Jones too. I'll go back and I'll have a look at his here because we have them all. Van Dijk with Cody Gakpo. We've Curtis Jones. His numbers against West Ham, as you can see here, 88 touches, 93% accuracy, 2 of 3 dribbles completed, 2 ground duels, 2 key passes, and 2 goals. You can't really ask for much more from the kid, realistically. Do you see and envision a similar middle three that we've seen against West Ham? Give me your starting 11 of who you think would be picked, because I'd like to see Darwin Nunez on the left, but he didn't nearly play a full 90 minutes, so you'd be wondering about fitness there.
Yeah, maybe the plan was to play Diaz, but after his performance, he would be difficult to rest. For me, the only thing I was thinking about, maybe Endo, he played the last 2 games, and Gomez is playing really well on the right side. Maybe we will go with Curtis, Trent, and Szoboszlai in midfield. Front 3 will be Nunez, Gapco, and Salah. And back 4 of Tsimikas, Virgil, Konate, and Gomez.
So insane with Trent Alexander-Arnold. This was what he done in 30 minutes.
Yeah,
that's nuts. That's absolutely bonkers. It's as the tweet suggests, like that's some impact. Like, so Trent being involved in that game is, I think he's making a statement that he needs to start in the midfield. And as you mentioned, Cody Gakpo here too, 28 touches, 1 goal, 3 or 4 duels won. It's a great forward to have. He's getting back to himself. You mentioned Virgil. He's here with 95% pass accuracy, 62 touches, 80% of his aerial duels won, 1 key pass, lots of long passes completed, only missed 3 of his normal passes in total. It's absolutely fantastic to see. And then this is one that I want to discuss. This one right here, because Harvey was deployed in a very similar role to Mo Salah. It's an interesting one, because if the Mo Salah departure occurs in the summer, having seen possibly what the potential of Harvey Elliott could be in that particular role with Darwin Nunez on his opposite wing, Hassan, are you a little bit less concerned now? Do you think Harvey Elliott, maybe his ceiling has elevated a little bit? could he possibly be the Mo Salah replacement on that right wing? Because he came on and he played an absolute blinder, in my own opinion. I know it's one game, it's a small sample size, but I think the right wing, if he can continue performances like that, especially from a starting position, because that was one stick we used to beat him with, is that he's usually a super sub off the bench, but he comes out, he starts a game and plays a fantastic game. Realistically, do you feel a little bit less worried about that, the right wing uncertainty with the possibility of Mo Salah leaving, given the fact that you've seen this type of a performance from a Harvey Elliott?
Yeah, it's really encouraging seeing Harvey doing these great games. But as you always say, that we are spoiled a lot by the numbers of our front three in the past. So he's playing really well. He's creating. But for end product, we need someone to score a lot of goals if he finally replaces Salah, because Nunez is till now is hit and miss, and no one is coming up with the numbers like Salah do. So as long as if we find someone who is getting a lot of numbers like Salah, maybe his departure will ease. But till then, it will be a really difficult thing to think about.
Yeah, Dan, a similar question. Given the fact that we know we were always a little bit concerned about his floor and his ceiling and where he could end up, but realistically, looking at those numbers there in a game where he comes in and in my opinion, I think he done everything but score or assist. Like, you can't ask him to do much more in influencing a game than what he done. Especially 100% dribbles completed, something that we've seen Salah had a little bit of a problem with this season, that he may have lost a bit of a step of pace. Now, has that made him any less deadly? Not at all. Maybe defenders are respecting him a little bit more and stepping off him a little bit more rather than stepping up to him, trying to sort of maybe try and get an upper hand on him. But with the performance that Harvey Elliott had, is the concern and the worry over the right wing uncertainty in the next 12 to 18 months lessened or worsened with you, given how you've seen he can perform?
I mean, I was never really worried because I feel like we would see some sort of change to like a 4-4-2, where it could be Szoboszlai on the right wing, or Harvey, or Gakpo, or Diaz, who's just holding that position. I think Harvey Elliott has shown a lot of maturity and a lot of game intelligence as he's gotten, older. I think at times I feel like we judge Harvey based on the only other player that's 20-year-old and getting regular minutes at a top club, and that's Jude Bellingham. And I think that's sometimes an unfair comparison because, Jude is like a once-in-a-generation
That's hilariously unfair.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like at times that we may be judging him based on that fact. I just realized I might be buffering a bit. Hold on. Am I buffering, Stephen?
Just a slight bit, but your voice is coming through properly. It's it's the image that's buffering.
Okay, let me see if I can help that out. There we go. So
There we go.
So I think Harvey Elliott's perfectly fine. I've said this before, even going back to the summer. If Harvey Elliott's your fifth or sixth best player, either in the midfield or on the wing, that's a really good squad. And I think he can come in and do a good job, because how many games would Salah miss? Four?
Minimum 4, maximum 10, I believe, is the numbers if they get all the way to the final.
Oh, if they get all the way to the final. I mean, it would suck to miss 10 games with Mohamed Salah, but I feel like if you put Harvey Elliott there, what it would do is that I think it would force Klopp to put Trent in the midfield, and I think that may be the best solution. So I don't think it's just that Harvey, or it may force Szoboszlai to become like a left winger, or even a false nine if he wanted to do that. I think putting Harvey out on the right wing, what it does is that it allows Jurgen and Pep and everyone on the coaching staff to just solve all the problems on the pitch they already have, like with Diaz's position, Gakpo's position, Trent's position, and Gomez's position long term as well. And I think it'll be interesting to see that. But we can't fault Harvey's effort. Every time he's come in, he's showed a lot of energy. At times he's probably been a bit of a headless chicken. But again, I think like with Curtis Jones, these are very young players. Like Jones is 22, Harvey's 20. They haven't played full seasons in like a starting 11 without like major injury. They've been usually as squad players. So the fact that they're going to get a whole season, hopefully, within this team, I think will let us know like how the trajectory is looking. But I think Harvey's just looking more and more like a James Milner replacement more than Wataru Endo is, because I think Harvey could play anywhere and just will run socks off for you. Like you could ask him to play left back or right back or goalkeeper, and he would do it as best he could.
Yeah, it's an interesting one to worry about. Salah's games missing. So I'm going to share our fixtures for the next while. Now, this is my fantasy Premier League team. Nobody take notes, but this is the fixtures that we have. So AFCON starts in game week 21, as far as I'm aware. I don't know if it starts in game week 20 or 21. It starts in one of them, and Salah is technically missing for 3 weeks. So game week 21 to 24 is when he's missing. So he'll be missing Bournemouth, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Burnley, I believe. Now, that's not inclusive of Carabao Cup or FA Cup fixtures as well. There's 3 fixtures in there for that. Thankfully, he's not going to miss any European games because they don't happen till March. But it is an interesting one to look at, purely from the fact that it's not the worst time for him to go missing. Is it realistically, Hassan? Like the games that are there, we would have game week 21 to 24. Bournemouth away, Chelsea home, Arsenal away, Burnley at home. That's not the worst kind of fixtures to be missing if he is there. And as Jamie mentions here, he kind of does come back slow. But even if he does come back slow, game week 25 to 27 is against 3 teams that could very easily be a bit of a confidence boost for him, with Brentford, Luton at home, and Forest away. Forest are leaking goals left and right. It'd be absolutely fantastic to see him get back into some sort of form before Man City come and visit us in game week 28. Do you have, looking at the fixtures there and knowing how Harvey Elliott has performed so far, again, small sample size, we get that, but this is more of a predictive thing than anything. Given the fact that he would be missing Bournemouth away, Chelsea home, Arsenal away, Burnley at home, do you feel less or more worried considering those would be the fixtures?
The most worrying is Arsenal away, because it will be crucial by that time. That will be the run-in. Rest Chelsea, if they are playing like they are now, no problem. Bournemouth away, okay. Burnley home, no problem. So it's just one fixture. Hopefully he comes back. Egypt's knocked out soon, so he's back and up for the challenge in the run-in. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Steven, I do have some breaking news for you. So Rodri went down with a knee injury in the Club World Cup final, and he had to leave the pitch. And also there was a big fight at the end. So just some breaking news on that front. That was a couple minutes ago.
Don't say we don't bring you breaking news on this channel.
breaking by 14 minutes. It's nothing's been announced yet.
Have you seen anything in relation to the severity of the injury or anything like that? No.
Well, the game was almost over, and they had to sub him off. So I think and they were winning 3-0.
Hassan, you mentioned earlier on before the stream started that you seen Rodri was injured. Was it the same injury, or maybe he just played on and then had to be taken off because of the pain of it?
Yeah, it was more of his ankle, because the player who challenged him fell on his ankle, and he was on a lot of pain, and Pep was worried. And after the physios come, he went off the pitch and he said that I'll continue, but he was subbed off after 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah, and it was for a knee incident as what's been reported. There was he developed knee issues.
Look, I'm not one to wish an injury on any player whatsoever. Everybody knows me for that. But like at the same, that could be a penalty to Aston Villa. Sorry, I have the game on here in the background. Is that a penalty or is that a free kick? That could be close. But I'm not one to wish an injury on anybody. Oh no, just outside the box. I'm not one to wish an injury on any player whatsoever. However, that's a major injury if it is a prolonged one, especially for Manchester City, as they have a bit of a run in of games now coming. We faced an awful lot of our tougher opponents at the start of the season, which is a good thing. But what we're going to do now is we're going to stop sharing screens and we're going to go back to our regularly scheduled programming. So apologies, there we go. Hope you guys enjoyed that little bit of a tidbit of new stuff. We're going to try and implement that a little bit more into some streams going forward, especially into the transfer window where some breaking news may come through in the middle of a stream where we can share it like that. Hopefully that stuff is beneficial to everybody. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. If you did, let us know. If you didn't, let us know. But yeah, so we'll get into a couple of other bits of topics realistically, because we've talked an awful lot about the game and what the other games are. I see a lot of stuff in the chat here about some transfer news and stuff like that. First one we start with, speaking of Fluminense from James, did it sound like Andre snubbed LFC from what one of the other insiders had said yesterday? Is this in relation to the news that came out that basically said we went in for him, they told us no, and then we went elsewhere? Is that essentially what you're asking about, James? If it is, I think there's a lot of moving parts in it. I think he didn't want to leave. We wanted him then. We went and got an alternative, the alternative being Endo. I don't necessarily think... See, Andre is a funny one. Andre at the start of the season would have been great, but now that Endo's kind of coming into his own and we could possibly maybe go for somebody in the January transfer window if they present themselves, like a Paulinho, despite the reports, I think there is interest there. He's one of the top Premier League CDMs at the moment and can play centre back as well, so it'll provide cover in two positions. It's an interesting one because I don't know if he's snubbed us per se. I think it's more just a mutually agreed parting, if that makes sense. Dan, would you be of a similar opinion? Do you think Andre snubbed Liverpool? Because he's going to Fulham if he snubbed Liverpool. I don't see anybody else possibly going for him. United can't afford him because they can't afford to even pay their own players at the moment. City won't necessarily need him, although if this Rodri injury is bad, they may go and purchase him. All depends on that. But then you also have De Bruyne coming back too. But it's an interesting one. Do you think he's snubbed us, or is it more of a mutually parting of parties?
No, I don't think Andre snubbed anyone. I mean, from what it seems like, we knew he had a release clause. We asked if we could activate the release clause. Fluminense said probably no, we don't want to negotiate with his release clause at this moment. I mean, I'm sure that they probably were like, oh, can we pay it now? Can we pay the reduced one? I think was the news one this summer in January, or can we do some sort of deal around this whole situation? And Fluminense being, winning the Copa Libertadores are obviously very vindicated by that. Andre probably also didn't want, maybe he wanted to move at the time, or maybe he was interested. It's kind of hard to really judge. I mean, everyone in Brazil says, the two teams I want to play for are Madrid and Barcelona, and that's perfectly fine because, they are the two biggest clubs. A lot of Brazilians recently have gone over to play for Madrid and Barcelona. A lot of the youth players, and Barcelona have recently been buying a lot of their youth, the younger players coming through. I don't know. I wouldn't take it as a snub. I just think it's one of those where at the time it made sense. And even in January, I still think it would be worth a shout to do that. One thing that I heard recently that may be a reason why Liverpool are not going back in for Andre is not just because of where Endo's at. It's because if they're going to buy a player, they probably don't want to buy a player that has to fly, 12 hours to Britain. So with McAllister, how they've had to deal with McAllister, with Allison, these are two players, and Darwin, now 3 players, and Diaz, 4 players, who have to go from South America to England during international break. They're probably like, do we really want to have another player that's like
deal
that?
With another player doing that, it's a headache at the best of times.
Exactly. And, so I wouldn't call it a snub. Listen, if Andre goes to City or Fulham, I guess good for him. I mean, if he goes to Fulham, he must really want to live in London. Or if he goes to City, those 115 charges really must be 116 charges at this point. Allegedly, the alleged 115.
Look, I don't understand anybody that decides to actively go to City. Like Haaland, I get. Because his dad played there, but going to City and winning a trophy with Manchester City is like losing your virginity to a prostitute. Genuine. That's just the way that I look at it.
It still counts.
But it still counts, but you still feel dirty. You should feel dirty after it. If you don't, that says more about you than anything else, realistically.
If she tells you she loves you, you have no way to disprove her. Like
it doesn't matter if you hand her 100 quid and she tells you she loves you. That's Dan, look, I won't question your morals on the subject. You like what you like. I'm not going to question it. It's just
busted.
But look, we're not ones to kink shame on this channel, so you do you, buddy. I'm not going to judge you at all. But Hassan, a similar question, realistically. At the moment, it's interesting because do you think Andrea snubbed us? Do you think it's more of a mutual parting of sides, or is it just it was the right fit then, but it's not now? Especially considering Liverpool seem to go for people that just seem to fit a profile and not so much let's go buy the shiny thing. I think the only times we've gone let's go buy the big shiny thing have been Virgil van Dijk and Alisson Becker. Maybe Darwin, if you want to call him that as well. But outside of that, it's been very conservative, and yet we've developed a lot of world-class players from it. So are you all too concerned about Andre at this moment? I know we've talked about him so much over the past number of months, but realistically, are you would you be upset following all this time and all this talk that if he didn't arrive and went to somebody like City or somebody like Fulham?
I think he didn't snubbed us. We had an interest. We inquired about it, but as he was in his boyhood club and they had a good run in this Copa Libertadores, so his president and himself they said that first the priority is that cup, and after that we'll see. So as you all know that we don't wait for the targets if there's no real interest from that side also. Like you mentioned, Nunez, as soon as we were linked with him, he said, I'll be joining Liverpool. Man U and other clubs came in for him, but his heart was set. So we go for the players who are genuinely interested and wants to work here and play for us. So Andre was focused on his, and good for him. He won it with his club. So Fulham maybe are more interested because they know they'll lose Palinia. So maybe he'll go there, and Palinia is more suited for us because he's a European player and he has experience in Premier League. His age is a bit more, but a young player, Stefan, coming through, and Endo is playing really well. It makes sense, but we'll do the business if it all makes sense in transfer wise, money wise. Then we will go for him.
So I don't mean to interrupt you. Sorry, I'm just looking at the Sheffield United and West Ham game. How this may not be called a penalty is the funniest thing in the world if it doesn't get called a penalty. Ollie Watkins just got absolutely nailed in the back by the Sheffield United defender that looks like a Richarlison from Wish. Genuinely, he does. Like, he just comes in and cleans him and shoves him straight in the back, like, as he's going up. How is that not a penalty? It has to be a penalty. Live breaking news from LFC Transfer Room as we're watching a live game. Did he call a penalty? I have it on mute. I don't know. No, he called it a corner. How's that not a penalty? Oh my days. That's absolutely chronic.
Is Ezri Konsa who fell down?
Was it Bogle? No, it wasn't Bogle.
No, that was stop that. How is that? I'm not sure. For anybody that didn't see it, the defender essentially ran towards his end line and just put both hands on Ollie Watkins' back and shoved. And I mean shoved to the ground and then headed the ball away.
You're at what time? At what minutes?
I'm at 11:26.
I think I'm ahead. There's a handball incident they're checking now.
Yeah, I'm looking at that now. I don't know if that's going to be called because his hand was kind of down by his side. It's technically a natural position. I don't know if that one's going to be called
penalties,
either.
No. Penalty is not given. So
yeah, I was thinking that. I think you must be about 2 minutes ahead of me. But yeah, I don't think that's going to be that. That's a shame. Aston Villa are all over these guys. Ollie Watkins for a goal because he's in my fantasy Premier League, so hopefully that happens. I don't mind that at all. Just finish 1-1, let Ollie Watkins score. I'd like that. Yeah, he knew nothing about that. Realistically, there's no way. Yeah, it came off his head and then hit his arm. There's no way that's a penalty. But
Yeah, I
interesting.
hate to make Hassan sad. I don't think we're gonna get Paulinho. I don't think that was ever on the cards. I think it was when Christian Falk reported that we were still there were clubs interested and Liverpool were looking at him. I wasn't surprised, but the fact that even Florian Pettenberg has said, like there's no indication that Liverpool are gonna go for him, I'm not really surprised. Because we're not. If we spend 40 million on a player in January, it's usually a Gakpo or a Diaz, someone that has been tracked, that's in the mid-20s, that's gonna come in and start, if not right away, then just about come in and get serious minutes right away. And I don't know anybody right now that we would sign that would do that, apart from like maybe Piero Hincapié if they want to play him at left back, but that's just a defender. Even Gonzalo Ignacio, I don't think they're gonna get.
You shut your whore mouth.
I can't. Listen, I'm just being honest, Steven. Listen, I'm telling you right now, he's going to Madrid. I'm not saying that to make you sad. It's just like accepting reality. David Alaba's out.
Ruining my
David Alaba's
ruining my Christmas.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to ruin anybody's Christmas. I'm not trying to be spreading misery, James Pierce. I'm just being like what I think is what's going to happen. I do think.
I change your name on this to Scrooge because that'll be so fitting right now at this moment.
Oh God, I'm sorry. I'm not a Grinch. I'm really like one of the nicest, like most positive people on this stream usually, and I'm over here just saying, I just don't see it happening in my honest opinion. I could be wrong.
Obviously, they're not concrete reports, but Jay Muse mentions here he could be available for £39 million. Like, it's just, he's such a good. I'm going to tell everybody now that's watching this and anybody that sees this video on YouTube afterwards. If Gonzalo Inacio signs, you will see a video on the LFC Transfer Room YouTube page of me running around topless screaming his name in my house. I will promise you that, and you can clip it. You can clip it. Anybody that wants to clip it can clip it. You can clip it, and I will happily do it. No problem at all. It's just.
Jen, please fund it. Jen must fund it now.
He's such a good player. There's two other people that I'd accept instead of Gonzalo Inacio, and one of them is an Irish guy. And the only two people that I'd accept instead of, as cheers for the warning.
Warning? That's not a warning. That's a surprise. That's a good surprise.
It's a warning. The only two people that I'd accept instead of Gonzalo Inacio is Lenny Yoro from Lille or Jake O'Brien, an Irish kid who's 6'6", who plays for Olympique Lyon at the moment. He's absolutely fantastic. He is a beautiful player to watch, and he's only like 22, and he's not even, the transfer market doesn't even have him at 5 million. You can go and nab this kid for like 15 to 20 million, and he could come in and be another Jarell Kwanzaa. He is utterly fantastic. Same with Lenny Yoro. He's essentially a Joel Matip regen. He's a big, long, rangy guy that likes to drive the ball forward, and he's 3 goals already in the season so far as a centre back. He's a beautiful, beautiful player. And he's just this small, slender frame. He looks exactly like a Joel Matip, and he'd be a beautiful signing. Jace mentions here, believe we're going to get a CDM, and it's silly. It's spreading this stupid rumor on Andre. We walked away because he wasn't available. FSG was supposed to go to Brazil to negotiate, but didn't. I don't know where you seen that, Jace. If you can drop the link in the chat. I haven't seen that myself, but those would be the only two that I would go in for. Leon are playing terribly right now, but he's the best player on a bad team. And the last time we mentioned something about a best player on a bad team was one of my first streams with us a couple of months ago when I said that I think Nice were better than Southampton. And lo and behold, where are Nice in Liga at the current moment? And where are Southampton? That's the kind of thing that I need to look at, because we were mentioning about Kepram Thuram. But something that we'll move on to the next topic that was mentioned here. With our starting 11s, we all mentioned we'd start Darwin Nunez from the left. But Hassan Hughes is asking here, do we feel like Diaz is possibly going through something right now? My answer will be yes. Oh, what a save. My answer will be yes. That it would be... I like his mom and dad got kidnapped. He's coming back from an injury. I mean, like the kid just can't catch a break, and I can't speak for how that must feel, but I can only speak in a hypothetical of if my dad turned around and got bloody kidnapped, like, or if my parents got kidnapped, I don't know how anybody could go out and play a football game after that, let alone a professional football game. Do you think he's maybe going through something at the moment, and maybe just needs a rejig of his career, possibly maybe a move elsewhere for some fresh starts, or do you think maybe he just needs to reestablish himself in the squad?
Yeah, exactly. He went through a lot in a short space of time. First, the injury, he was coming back. He was looking a bit better. Then his father thing came up. So it was too much for anyone, and a young man. It is too much to handle. So, and he went through that stuff. But for me, uh, there are more options coming up. So we should give him a rest and play him in the cup games uh, and the less important games, so he regain his confidence, and he'll come back. Look, he's not a bad player. He when he came in, he hit the ground running, so he was really good. So we must give him time, and he'll come back good.
I think so as well. Hey, or yes, you did miss our stats start of the stream. There's your onomatopoeia for the day. So we did a little thing where we shared screen. I might do it again actually if you want to have a look at it. Hold on, we'll bring it up. This is what we were doing. We were sharing stuff like this, and then we just changed the brand, and we go like this, and this is what we were discussing. So Helior, I believe this might be something of your interest because you do love your stats, and this is possibly something that you would have been interested in. We were talking about this, Harvey Elliott during the game, and then we were also talking about the likes of Dominic Szoboszlai, Virgil van Dijk, Cody Gakpo, Curtis Jones, and Trent Alexander-Arnold, just in relation to our Twitter feed itself. So maybe you would have found that interesting, but it's all back at the start of the stream anyway. You can go and have a look at it when the stream ends in about 15 minutes anyway. So it was an interesting watch. But with that being said, one of the other topics, where are we? There we are. One of the other topics that I wanted to get into in relation to the comments was I seen something here. Where was it? Oh, I'm after losing my train of thought. No, I know. I remember now. Dan, same question to you. Realistically, do you think Diaz is going through the wars at the moment? He's not really had his best couple of games, and then he got dropped for the West Ham game. And you see Darwin Nunez come in from that position and kind of light up the world a little bit, albeit he got an assist, but he didn't score. But nonetheless, he realistically, Darwin Nunez performed possibly his best game so far from the left wing and his most creative. Is it possible a threat to Luis Diaz's minutes, or is this more of just a rotationary thing at the moment?
I just think it's rotational. I mean, you have to remember with Luis Diaz, he started the year off really well when we had Jones and Robertson up until that Tottenham game, which a Tottenham game is a whole other thing. You know, you could argue if that goal, which was a goal, was given, you know, he would have been on 4 goals. He could have scored a second and possibly had a hat trick before halftime. In that game, and if that game goes a certain way, you know, who knows what would have happened. I honestly, yes, I think that it's hard to get back into a game mindset when your mom and dad are, you know, kidnapped and ransomed. Essentially, you have to remember, like, these guys are professional football players. Like, this is a job. Like, imagine you're at your job, and then, you know, you hear that, like you mentioned, like, your folks are kidnapped and being held for ransom. And it's like, and now that they're back, it's like, okay, I have to refocus on my job. You know, you just spent 2 or 3 weeks like not thinking about your job, probably not even taking care of yourself for your job. And then now it's like, now you have to get back in that mindset. So you're starting essentially 3 weeks behind. I think that's part of it. I also think that it just hasn't helped Diaz that Robertson got injured and Jones got suspended. I think he had a really good relationship with both Jones and Robertson. That was when he was scoring his most goals because he was essentially playing as Mane. And I think with Gravenberch, you know, he doesn't really have a relationship with Gravenberch or Simicast right now. They haven't played a lot of games together. So he's kind of been stuck in a situation where he's doing a lot of like hard work without getting a lot of reward. Now, one thing people have mentioned is his take on. Like, he hasn't been taking on a lot of players recently. I think that's a combination of 1, coming back from injury, 2, confidence, and again, 3, just shape. Like, you're not going to take someone on if if you don't have them in a position where you can beat them. There's no reason to take on a player if they're just going to tackle you and win the ball back. Don't tell Gabriel Martinelli that or Bukayo Saka because he makes a living off taking on players and losing the ball. Some days throw some Arsenal bombs in there as well. If there are any Arsenal fans sneakily in the view count.
No, Mihai isn't on this stream, so
I know he's not. He's gonna be so mad that I was throwing them under the bus. No, I just think with Diaz we have to be patient, and I think Klopp knows that, and I think even Nunez, Gakpo, and his teammates know that is just coming back as well. I don't think we need to get too crazy. If we remember back when Salah and Mane were in the team, Mane only gets 10 goals that season. We get to the Champions League final, and he really plays much better in Europe. And Diaz has played very well in Europe compared to the league. And I remember that year coming out, people were saying, who would you sell? Firmino, Salah, or Mane? Who were we going to sell in 3 or 4 years? And everyone was saying, Mane was he's not scoring enough. He's fluffing his chances. He's not doing as well. So I think we just need to trust Diaz, trust the coaching staff. We always want the next young, strapping, sexy thing, coming up in the market. Your center backs from Lyon or your big Irish lads at Lyon, Olympic Lyon. Who could be the 6'6" Irishman, 22-year-old Irishman? I can't compete with that.
Exactly.
That's just it's like Hosier. I can't compete with Hosier. I know my limits.
I was at his concert on Sunday in Belfast. The man is as tall as advertised. He was fantastic.
Is he as beautiful too?
Oh man, I don't swing that way, but I'd make an exception.
You weren't swinging, but you were practicing. I understand. You're
God Almighty! And do you want to know what? He just gives off such big dick energy. It's hilarious.
We all know that it's unspoken. This is the thing. It's an unspoken thing. It doesn't need to be stated because we all know it to be true.
Yeah.
Just like Diaz's quality. We know Diaz is a good player, and he will come. He will come good, just like Newton.
I love how we're comparing Diaz's fucking football quality to the length of a man's schlong.
Listen, that's all football is. That's all football is. It's just a measuring contest.
Bigger dick.
Exactly. I know this, and it's not Paul Scholes, which is okay.
Oh, that's hilarious. So there's a couple of questions that have come through here, and we'll get through them quick fire in the next 10 minutes. Helior has come in with a couple of his questions about the game. Hassan, I'll start with you on this one. Who should start, Gakpo or Nunez? But I think we start the two of them, similar to how we've seen them deployed against West Ham. What do you think?
Yeah, same. Both. They can switch as the game progresses. At the start, it's Nunez at the left and Gakpo. And if it's not working, we can switch that. Gakpo can come at the left and he can come in the center. So this gives us more options.
Yeah, I think so as well. Dan, in agreement with that. I know we were on about Diaz and his quality, but right now at the moment, we could use a bit of an instant impact with the likes of with a similar performance to what we've seen on Wednesday. Would you be in agreement with that, with starting both, or would you start one over the other at the moment?
No, I would start both as well. I actually like that formation because Gakpo essentially drops and Nunez and Salah play like a narrow front two inside forward like Mane and Salah did during the title-winning season, where essentially a 4-3-3 became a 4-4-2 diamond, more or less, or roughly like a 4-4-2 diamond when Firmino became a 10. Yeah, no, I would start both because I just like Cody Gakpo because you can kick the ball into him and he holds it up. And listen, Nunez's pace, Arsenal are going to play a high line. If you want to scare Arsenal and make them drop that line, you have to play Darwin. Even that game we drew 2-2, like Darwin could have easily had 2 or 3 goals in that game if you just have someone like threatening that back line.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And then the other thing that comes from Helior, would you start Trent in the 6 against Arsenal? Dan, I'll come to you first on that. Would you start Trent or would you keep Endo there? Because McAllister, unfortunately, is out for the game.
I would start Trent, but only if you're. I would start Trent if Jones is coming in at right back, and I would start Trent with Jones and have them play as a double pivot. Absolutely, I would start Trent. It would be interesting to see how Trent would have to do with someone like Trossard or Nketiah or even a Jesus. But yeah, absolutely, I would start Trent because Trent in the midfield is what turned that game against Arsenal back at Anfield. I would put Trent in, and I would just have him do just bombs up the field to win territory and just essentially tell Arsenal, we're going to turn this into a game of volleyball for 20, 25 minutes, like I mentioned with the 13-14 game, and we're just going to go
try and
direct.
stop the likes of Darwin Nunez and Mo
Yeah.
Salah with their pace going in behind. Like,
we're just gonna run right through you, and we're gonna see how you handle it. And if you handle it, good on you. And if you don't, if you crumble, which I think Arsenal can crumble, because again, I don't buy into Arsenal's mentality yet.
I
They
don't
have
think
good
they've
players,
got the minerals myself.
and because they don't have the lived experience. They don't have anybody there that has the lived experience.
They don't have the big energy.
Exactly. Hassan,
They don't have the big Dick Luis Diaz energy.
Or Virgil van Dijk energy, or Alisson Becker. But this is true though. Like, Arsenal don't have the lived memory of that mentality of winning a title. They have the mentality of going ahead and then slowly losing it and then being comfortably beaten by the end. But they don't have like going neck and neck to the last day, or going neck and neck while in a European competition and winning that European competition. So I think we need to back the fact that the players know what's at stake, the crowd knows what's at stake. I think Arsenal to go into this game and they're going to be like, we want to draw, and Liverpool say, we're just going to turn this the game of volleyball. We'll see who survives.
Pretty much. Hassan, are you of a similar opinion? Start Trent in the 6 and see him there in a bit of a similar role to how we played against West Ham, following us going up by a couple of goals. I get we were up by a couple of goals at that point, but he still comes on and gets 2 assists from that sort of deep line playmaker role. It's a fantastic role to see him in, and I think he's making the case more and more that he is a midfielder, and maybe we should focus on signing a right back realistically going forward. But that's a topic for conversation for the January window and next summer window. But at the moment, would you start Trent in the 6 role as it is at the moment against Arsenal, or do you feel he should be deployed as a right back in an inverted role? Because I think the right backs overlapping against West Ham played very, very well, and I think that could cause Arsenal an awful lot of problems.
Yeah, I think that was the plan coming into the West Ham game, to see how it pans out. And I would love to see him in the middle. Gomez is playing really well at the right side, so he can bomb there. And Trent playing as a quarterback, and because of their high line, you see the last in the last game, the way he assisted Salah. So Trent can give the balls to Nunez and Salah, and they can run to their back line, and it will scare their defenders, and so they will be scared to play the high line against us. But we should exploit this with Trent as playing as a quarterback.
Yeah, it is fantastic to watch. I think he is sort of playing quarterback, sitting back in the center circle, pinging passes left and right, trying to penetrate the back line, especially when you have the pace of Salah. And I know we even said he lost a step of pace, but he's still very rapid. He lost a step of pace, but it should be noted, like, both of them guys can break back lines very, very, very easily. The last question that we're going to have before we finish up and we get our score predictions in, Jamie is asking here, would you start either Robbie Fowler or prime Robbie Fowler or prime Michael Owen to this current Liverpool side? Who are you choosing? Hassan, I'll come to you first on this. Are you choosing prime Robbie Fowler or prime Michael Owen?
But to be honest, I have just seen Owen, and when he was playing at Liverpool, I was very young when Fowler was playing. So, but Fowler, as we have seen, he can shoot with his glare of right and win headers. But the way Owen, he was rapid. So it's a really difficult one because I have not seen Fowler that much. So maybe Owen for me.
Dan, would you be of a similar opinion, or would you maybe go the Fowler route?
No, I would absolutely start Robbie Fowler more than Michael Owen, because I like Michael Owen. I think he's one of the, again, like I said, different generations. I was not alive to watch Fowler and Owen in the flesh, so I very much know this from watching more historical films, but for historical seasons of Liverpool. I would say that Fowler makes the most sense for this current Liverpool side, just because he's more of a finisher. Owen, what Owen does, Nunez and Diaz already bring, except for the scoring. And again, Owen snaps his hamstring at 22. So, I'd rather have a Fowler who is less reliant on pace and is more of a technical all-around goal scorer with his left, with his head, with his right foot. And I think that's what this Liverpool side is really missing, is just someone the old fox in the box, 9, someone who can just sit in the box and score, which essentially is what Salah is at this point. Salah is probably the closest thing we have to a Owen slash, oh God, like an Owen slash
Fowler.
Dalglish slash, oh sorry, yeah, Fowler. Sorry, thank you, Hassan. Fowler slash Dalglish slash Barnes regen. Someone who
Yeah.
started as a winger is now more of a 10, but it still has that goal scoring instincts.
I'd be in much of an agreement with you, Dan. I think Fowler would bring more to the team. I think Owen on his day was more of a goal threat. However, I think Fowler is the better player overall, in my own opinion, as an all-around player. Do you want to know what it gives me a reminder of? It's the Darwin Nunez, Erling Haaland debate. They're not the same player. However, they're playing in similar positions. Haaland is a finishing monster and can score goals for fun, similarly to how Owen did as well. I think Darwin Nunez is a much more rounded player than Erling Haaland. I think he brings more to the game than Erling Haaland, because Man City's goal scoring numbers didn't change from year before Haaland arrived to the year he did arrive, meaning the goals just came from him. He didn't improve the team, so to speak, if that makes sense. They just didn't have to score goals from midfield. But I'd take Robbie Fowler. It's much more of a well-rounded player that could provide more to the team, similarly to a Bobby Firmino that can link up playing how Gakpo is playing currently at the moment. So I'd take a Fowler myself. But before we finish up, guys, I do want to ask for some score predictions tomorrow. As Jay News mentions, anybody is going to the game tomorrow, I want you to lose your voice when you sing, because we cannot allow Arsenal to come in and dominate in Anfield and be the only team that beats us in Anfield in the past while. It is not going to happen. But I want some score predictions in the chat. And Hassan, I'm going to come to you first about your score prediction. Jesus, Jen. Hassan, I'm going to come to you about your score prediction first. Can you please give me your score prediction for tomorrow? And then you can also give me your man of the match tomorrow as well.
2-0 and Alexander-Arnold as man of the match.
Dan, yourself?
As much as I was boisterous about hopefully getting that 4-0 in 20 minutes, I think it'll be a 3-1. Man of the match, I think it'll be Trent.
And I'm going to go with a 2-1 victory to Liverpool, and the man of the match is going to be... Oh, who will it be? I think Darwin Nunez. Just purely because I love him.
Darwin's a hat trick and a 2-1 win.
Yeah, Darwin Nunez. And you know what's hilarious? It's the first time I've taken him out of my fantasy Premier League, so watch him go and bag a fucking hat trick. And I'll be both so angry but so happy about it as well. But what I guarantee you, it's Murphy's Law. It's going to happen. I've taken him out of the side now. Salah's going to blank, and I have him as captain. And then I lie. I don't have him as captain. I have Ollie Watkins as captain, and he's blanking right now at the moment. Need a goal or two out of him.
Do you think Jota makes the bench? I'm actually curious about this. I think, did Klopp have his press conference today where he said he wasn't?
Oh, Jota's not coming back till January, New Year. I don't think.
You don't think? I don't know. I think Klopp's a liar. I think we might see Jota randomly show up on the bench.
He'll show up and he'll come out on crutches and try and play.
He hates Arsenal. He hates Arsenal.
He'll score also.
He'll come out. He'll come on just for a corner with the crutches and propel himself upwards to do a bicycle.
He'll still score. It's Diogo Jota. He's better than Figo, don't you know?
Exactly. He's better than Figo, don't you know? His name is Diogo. I love it. Power Punch Bros? No. That's basically a straightforward and short answer. I believe my both panel mates will be in 100% agreement with that. I don't think the Super League gets off the ground because no teams are really interested in it. As of so far, all teams have kind of publicly said, good luck. You can have your Super League, no problem. Dan, similar opinion?
This is complicated. So I think the Super League is going to remain a bargaining chip with the FAs and with UEFA to maybe eventually hopefully scrap or change the Champions League format and hopefully get rid of the Nations League, which only exists just to give UEFA more money for them to allegedly embezzle. The quickest way to make money in football is just work for UEFA and FIFA. I don't know why that is, but apparently that's a thing. Allegedly. I hear.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I ain't one of them big city lawyers. I think we could see the Super League develop into a summer league, so to speak, some sort of like summer tournament where eventually, instead of doing all these international tours, these clubs eventually start coming together and start doing some sort of grand like tour that's based in a Super League that goes from area to area. But I think that will happen in probably 5 to 6 years. I think they're all saying no now, but in about 5 to 6 years' time, after these World Cup cycles, after UEFA has its elections, I think you're going to see a situation where we're going to see a Super League come in and replace that summer dead zone where we don't see a lot of teams playing. That's just my opinion. And no, I don't think we should join it. I don't think we should join it now. I don't think we should join it in the future. But there might be a situation where there is no other choice but for Liverpool to join it.
Hassan, are you of a similar opinion? Do you think it may come down the line that it might be the only option, or do you feel this is just going to be a non-starter considering the amount of major teams that have already said, no, we're not going near the Super League?
It's interesting because I think now UEFA should show us that they are serious about it. They should ban Real, Barca, and Juve from European competitions because they are the one who were lobbying for it. And Mark Goldbridge made an interesting point that our owners and United owners, Arsenal owners are just sticking by because of the Super League and how much money it can generate. So let's see. It will be a real, as Dan said, it's a bargaining chip. I hopefully it scraps the UEFA plans of that uh, Champions League new format and all these new competitions coming up. Clubs should be now strong and demand for less games for the players, and because if Super League comes in, we must have a squad of 40 or 50 players to play in these competitions.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it will be like NFL, no relegation or anything, just playing each other every day.
I think it's just stupid. As Power Punch and Bros mentions here, it's just the two teams trying to clear their debts. Like Barcelona and Real Madrid are getting $1 billion each for this. That clears Barcelona's debts. They're just twerking for money at this point, and I don't know why Real Madrid is doing it. I think it's very silly. It's coming from leagues that all have a two-team monopoly, and the fact that the Spanish league itself, Atletico Madrid, Villarreal, Sevilla, and Real Sociedad, basically the next four biggest teams in Spain, all basically gave them the finger and flipped the bird and were like, yeah, we're not joining. Good luck. It seems to be only Napoli, Juve, Barca, Real Madrid, Besiktas, Fenerbahce, Galatasaray, and PSV seem to be the only teams that seem to be at all interested realistically. And it's going to be fantastic watching Barcelona play Tranmere Rovers and Birkenhead in about 2 years' time. But yeah, it is what it is. I think it's going to be a non-starter. I think it's just, and do you want to know what I think will happen? I think UEFA will turn around and kick them out of tournaments if they want to go ahead with it.
Hopefully.
I don't think they'll allow them to keep them in the tournaments.
And scrap their 13 titles as well.
You can't go retrospectively like that, like we're going to do with City.
Listen, they were one when Franco was the head of Spain. I think there's some dubious tournament awards there. Like there's 6 or 7 European Cups for Real Madrid that probably should not have been there. In my humble opinion, fascist government and all.
Yeah. We don't like them boys. But we've gone well over time at the moment, guys. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Jane, as always, you are a superstar. Thank you so much for your £19.99. It all goes back towards the channel to help us make more content for you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, please, and thank you. Much love and happy holidays to everybody, whoever celebrates Christmas. I hope Santi is good to everybody and brings you lots of presents. Make sure you have your notifications on for all future streams. We will be live for our last stream before a little bit of a Christmas break. Tomorrow following the Arsenal game. It'll be a live stream with Richie, who'll be hosting tomorrow. So please do show up for that and show your love for us. We could be sitting at the top of the Premier League table. And we will not be streaming Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, or St. Stephen's Day. We're all taking a little bit of a holiday to enjoy our festivities with our families, and I hope you do too. So please do come back and join us for the the 27th of December, where we'll be back gearing up for the next transfer window, which will be starting on midnight on the 1st of January, which I cannot wait for. It'll be a great time to be around this channel. We bring you all the breaking news that we can. But from myself, from Dan, from Hassan, thank you guys so much for watching along with us. Apologies about all the technical issues at the start. Hassan, we eventually got you back on. We had some interactive stuff going. It was great. We also had some new stuff going with some stats. Hellier, if you want to go jump back to the start of the stream and watch it once this ends in about 5 minutes, please do so. I think you might enjoy it. If you have any ideas for us to do over the Christmas period for some transfer new stuff, I am going to be scouting a couple of different positions myself, and we'll be getting into that too. If you have any other topics that you want us to do, please feel free to let us know, and we'll see if we can get around to them and do them. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for joining us on this Christmas Eve, and we will see you guys hopefully tomorrow on the stream. And if we don't, hope everybody has a happy holidays and a safe Christmas, and everybody's family as well. Thank you guys so much, and have a wonderful evening.